everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk, and today we're going to be talking about me and Matt's favorite video game console of all time, the Xbox 360. So let's talk. The Xbox 360 launched in November of 2005, and back then it was actually very hard to get. It wasn't as simple. You might be thinking like today, oh, it's hard to get a console, but even back then it was still just as difficult.
Yeah, it was. I remember I traded in my GameCube, and again, it came out in November of 05, and I didn't get my 360 till I think January of 06. So not terrible, but the pre-orders were pretty backed up, and I finally got my hands on a premium model that had the Chrome disc tray, the wireless controller, and the 20 gigabyte hard drive?
I believe 20 gigabytes, yep. And Matt himself got the 20 gigabyte premium hard drive system and everything, but I, in March of 2006, got my hands on a Xbox 360 core system, which would later become the Xbox 360 Arcade. So that means I cheaped out and I got myself a 64 megabyte.
Well, coming off the PS2, we thought memory cards were okay. We didn't know about having a hard drive and how much storage these games would require. And I guess you found out the hard way.
Yeah, that memory card lasted me all of like 3 months, and then I went out and bought a hard drive separately. So I ended up spending more because it launched at $299 for the core system and $399 for the premium package, and I ended up probably spending $500 because I bought all these accessories separately like an idiot. Because that's kind of... And the 360 originally had a very, very good idea in the sense that they had faceplates.
So you can customize your Xbox to make it look like not everybody else had the same one.
Yeah. Now, we actually see this coming back into play in 2022 with the PlayStation 5. Let's not forget that the Xbox 360 did that first, and they eventually, as far as consoles go, they would have actually abandoned the faceplate model as far as their next...
They came out with the Slim S.
Yep, which is right here. This one does not have a removable faceplate that can be changed for anything.
And the hard drive went inside the console versus being on top of it, where you can just press the button and detach. That one's really on there. Hasn't been off in a while. So that's what the hard drive used to look like, and it would just slap on top. You could bring it over to your buddy's house and have your saves with you on the go.
Because we're right coming off PS2, so we were just used to swapping our memory cards. You know, you fill one up, you put a new one in, you bring it to your buddy's house, he can take your saves. And we were doing that with 360s for a little while too, until they eventually put that hard drive in there. And they also put inside the Wi-Fi adapter. Now, for people who aren't used to Wi-Fi adapters, for us to get connected to the internet in 2006 to play our 360s, we had to plug this bad boy in the back.
Because my mom would not let me droop the Ethernet cable through the entire house. So it was either wireless or I wasn't playing online. Actually, I had the wireless adapter, and they used to come with they had the Xbox Live cards bundled in a box with a headset and some Microsoft points and maybe a few arcade games, and I think it was $69.99 or $79.99, so you paid for your year of Xbox, you got a headset, and you hook it up with Xbox Live. This connects USB on the back of the console, clips on, and it made it look nice, and it actually had pretty good quality to it. The connection, I never really had an issue with the wireless, but I mean, looking back now, I didn't have an issue, but now it would probably be horrible.
Well, we didn't get involved with the Xbox 360 and Xbox Live system until the Xbox 360, because even though we both had Xboxes, we didn't have Xbox Live. So this was our first experience playing online. It was a big deal for us. I remember my first Xbox 360 game that I played online was Burnout Revenge. And I was blown away. Yes, Halo 2 was out and people were playing it since Xbox Live had been around since 2002, but I didn't get to play online Xbox 360, Xbox Live until I got Burnout Revenge in 2006.
Yeah, I used to play Halo 2 at my friend's house, and it was so great. Like, everyone wanted to go play outside and ride bikes and throw the football around, and I was like, come on, you got Halo 2 online. I would never leave my house. So when I got my 360, I think the first 6 months, all I played was Halo 2 because it was new to me, you know?
Yeah.
It was hooked. Probably all of you guys were hooked to Halo 2 at one point, and it was just, I was so happy to have it in my room and finally be able to play it myself. And then you say Xbox Live. I think the first time we really realized what Xbox Live was when we both played Perfect Dark Zero.
Now this game, you might be thinking, oh, the reviews for this game, this gets dragged through the mud as a launch game for the 360. It doesn't hold up to Perfect Dark. But for me and Matt, this game was very important for us.
Because we were able to play co-op campaign while I was at my house and he was at his house. It was a school night and we were playing Xbox Live together, talking on the mic, playing the same game, going through the story together, and it was just unbelievable. I remember saying, this is the greatest thing ever, and I can do this all day, every day. And again, Perfect Dark Zero, looking back now, not the best game, but we had a great time with it just because of the ability to play co-op campaign.
The nostalgia goggles for that. I will be living with that game for the rest of my life, even though I know for other people it doesn't hold up, but the memories can't be replaced.
It's on Rare Replay. Check it out, but again, that's just a time capsule game for
It's
me.
a rough ride. So as 2006 was going on, me and Matt, we both had our 360s, and we finally started to learn the new landscape of gaming, which brought us into HD, and Xbox also introduced a little thing called achievements. And for me and Matt, this was a big deal.
Yeah, achievements, that was a big part. It still kind of is a big part of my life. Not as much. I kind of laid off them. I've met some real good friends that way. My buddy Vex.
Mark and Aldo.
Yeah, shout out to Vex. He his gamer score always motivated me. But I think one of the first games I remember getting achievements in is Call of Duty 2, and I would see him pop up, and I mean, we didn't know what it was, but then eventually, I think you might even show me, yeah, check out this gamer score thing. And then we saw that, like, oh, points. Oh, it's on. So.
Yeah, and back then, the early 2K games gave you 1,000 points, and every achievement was 100. It was so easy to get. You would just boost in your gamer score.
5 achievements for 1,000 points.
Those were the days.
Yeah.
Now you spend an hour looking for one skull in Halo, and you get 5 points for it. So things have come a long way as far as achievements.
Yeah, the achievements are like a drug to me. I just that little endorphin hit of it popping on the screen, achievement unlocked. It's just something about it. That's why I can't get. I love PlayStation, but I won't touch it. If I'm playing a video game, I want to play it on Xbox because I want those achievements. And same thing. I have a beast PC build, and I won't play half the games on PC, which will run and look much better than on an Xbox, but it's just those achievements got their hooks in me, and unfortunately it kind of ruined gaming for me, but it also made me play a lot of games I probably would have never played and ended up really enjoying, so I guess I can thank achievements for that.
Yeah, and another big thing was, as far as early games go at the time, I would say in early 2006, the two big games were Condemned Criminal Origins for us and The Elder Scrolls Oblivion.
Oh, Oblivion.
Yeah, now these were two games we dumped hours into, and I think were very big in moving the Xbox 360 in its first year, because if you remember, the Xbox 360 had a full year on the PlayStation 3.
And boy, did that help them.
Yeah.
Especially with that price Sony tried to sell the PS3 for. Oof.
Yeah, we were out, and we were Sony people before this.
Yeah.
We couldn't afford a PlayStation 3. We already had our 360s. And
Well, Halo was the reason I went, because Halo 2, and I said, alright, I need to play Halo 3 when that comes out, so I'm going 360. So the PlayStation really wasn't in my mind anymore after I played Halo. That really changed my life. So I was a die-hard 360 guy. Still am. It's still my favorite console.
Yeah, and we played those. It's still my favorite console. So we played Oblivion and Condemned in the early years, and then November of 2006 rolled around, and we discovered a little game called Gears of War. Now, we're just going to gloss over this a little bit because Gears of War will eventually get its own video because it is Matt's favorite game. Still, he actually has a Gears of War tattoo.
I do.
So, we're just going to say that was a big stepping stone for us as far as changing our mindset. November of 2006 actually brought us a lot of great games such as Call of Duty 3, Rainbow Six Vegas, Gears of War, and another big game that came out in 2006. Actually came out on Halloween of 2006. It's a PC port. It is Fear, and that is another one of Matt's favorite games.
First Encounter Assault Recon. That game still holds up. I'm actually currently playing it on PC on Steam right now, and that game is unbelievable. The story is great. It's probably the best FPS game you could really play, in my opinion. It's just so fluent. It was beyond its time, and it's a shame that the sequels didn't live up to the first one.
Now, unfortunately, they got progressively worse, and Fear 3 tried to be an action game and forgot about the horror aspects that really drove the original.
Yeah, it was a great game. It really was. And even the Fear Files expansion pack is the expansions that were on PC, but on 360, I think that might even been before DLC, downloadable content. So we used to get DLC on a disc at the time.
Yeah, once we finally, I believe Oblivion was one of the earliest to include downloadable content as far as what we know now as DLC, where they added horse armor. And
the horse armor.
I bought it, so I'm not going to lie to you.
I have it too.
Yeah, these were all new experiences for us. Yes, now today this seems very normal, like DLC, games launching not finished, and then they add patches. That didn't happen back then. In 2006, you bought the game was what it was, and all DLC was either just like to add to the current game. It wasn't to fix it. There weren't patches.
Well, that's not 100% true.
No.
I remember specifically Gears of War is one that stands out to me because that was a game I played a lot. And I remember if you played one game and then went back to another game, as soon as you put it in the disc tray and you launched it, it would disconnect you from Xbox Live quick and download a quick update.
Really?
Do you remember that?
I don't remember. So the Xbox 360 actually had a bunch of different accessories that it launched with, and I believe that Matt and me both had them all. So Matt, what kind of accessories did the 360 launch with at the time?
So you have the Play and Charge kit. Now, back to the premium versus the core model. The core model had the wired controller, so you didn't have to worry about your AA's. So with this, I think it was $20. You used to get the rechargeable battery and the cord. So you'd plug the cord via USB to the front of the console, and you'd be able to charge it was called the Charge and Play, so you could play while you charge your controller. So that kind of saved you on the AA's. After a few months of using it, the battery wouldn't hold it as long of a charge, and you just go out and you buy a new battery. But I know I always had the Play and Charge kit.
I mean, I still buy a Play and Charge kit for my Microsoft Xbox Series X, so it's not like they've changed in the last 17 years.
Yeah, that's one thing I like about it, the choice between the AA's or the detachable, rechargeable battery, opposed to the PlayStation with the internal. Back to some more accessories was the Vision camera. So now, this didn't have a lot of uses, but I think I had two memorable uses with this, I would say. I would say one with Rainbow Six Vegas, the original.
That was the one I was thinking about too.
There was an achievement tied to it. So this, you would have to sit real still, and don't move, and it would capture your face, and it would put some sort of resemblance on your face onto your character in the game, which was pretty cool. I mean, I'm sure looking back now, it's probably not even close to what we look like, but I did it for the achievement. Yeah. I don't know about you.
Don't sell yourself short. I remember I did that in Rainbow Six Vegas, and my dad walked into my bedroom, and he's like, "Oh my God, that looks just like you." Now, I look like a pixelated mess. I didn't know what he was seeing, but he was blown away, so I must have did something right, because he still talks about my character in Rainbow Six Vegas, and I did that in 2006. So, you know what? It couldn't have been that bad, but, 2022 eyes, maybe it's different.
Funny quick story. I remember I was playing, when I first got the camera, because I would bring it to Christmas over at my mom's house every year, and I had first gotten the camera that year, and I was playing Rainbow Six, and I remember my little cousins, they were 5, 6 years old, they were running around, they were being annoying, so me and my other older cousin said, "We're going to put you in the game if you don't stop annoying us," and they still talk about that to this day, and it was just so funny that they were scared of the camera on the Xbox.
Matt didn't buy into Blu-ray, which if you're watching this channel, you're thinking, how could that be based on Matt's Blu-ray collection?
Yeah, I was an HD DVD guy. I had that HD drive for the console, and I had King Kong, Mission Impossible,
I remember
3,
specifically,
and Training Day.
That's the one, Training Day.
Oh, I think I had Smokin' Aces also.
Because of Rainbow Six. Do you remember? Smokin' Aces had Had a little ad tie-in with it. I remember shooting through the casino with a bunch of Smoking Aces posters everywhere. Yeah. Unfortunately, we have to talk about one negative of the Xbox 360 that I'm sure you know because it's very famous. It's called the Red Ring of Death.
How many times did that happen to you, John?
3 Xboxes got red ringed. The first one actually made me sick because I was playing Oblivion. It's early 2006. I did not want to stop. And I had to send my Xbox in to be repaired. And I didn't have it, I believe, for a full month.
It happened to me, I think, 6 or 7 times. And I have to say, Microsoft handled it well. They bit the bullet and they paid a lot of money to fix the problem they had. And they did, but it was terrible having to send your console in. So they would send you the box, you'd send it away to them, and you wouldn't even get your console back. You would get one they already repaired just to speed up the process. Yeah. So even a week or 2 without your console, I was in 9th grade, 10th grade when the 360 was big, so that was like torture not having my Xbox.
No, this was our life. We can't even explain to you how much I spent every night playing the 360. So the fact that I had to go a month without it, I actually didn't make the month. I ended up going and buying another Xbox 360 to replace this one, and then when I got that one back, I sold it. I actually lost money again on that, but I think I was in 9th grade too, so all my money was going to video games as it was, so it didn't hurt, but I couldn't live without my 360.
I also bought a second console when Gears of War 2 was coming out. 3 days before Gears of War 2 came out, my console red ringed, and I had a heart attack. And I actually borrowed money, because we were young, I didn't have money, but I borrowed money from a friend. I don't know I think he worked at Domino's at the time, and he loaned me money, and I bought the black console, which was the Elite, with the HDMI.
I remember that
port in the back.
That was the first. I believe it's the first console that will have an HDMI port.
It is. This is the beginning. We should have mentioned this in the beginning, but this is the entry into HD gaming,
which used to come with 6. So you've seen AV jacks, the red, yellow, and white wires. Well, the 360 had 6 of those, so you can get HD, which I believe was playing in 720p at the time.
Some was 1080.
Was it 1080i, right?
1080i, yeah.
I remember when Matt got his first HD TV, I was still playing on a tube TV. I couldn't have been more jealous in my entire life.
It was a Magnavox.
Magnavox. Matt came home, we were sharing a room at the time. I remember he brings it down there, and he's got a shit-eating grin on his face, because he just knew I was going to be jealous. And
what's the first game we booted up?
What was the first game?
I know.
Was it? I don't remember what the first... Was it Gears of War?
It was definitely Gears of War, and let me tell you, Gears of War is still a looker today. But back in 2006, seeing Gears of War for the first time in HD, it was unbelievable.
We really can't undersell how much the Gears of War sold Xbox 360s. For them, Xbox was just a Halo console at the time. I really think Gears of War was really their second big franchise that finally made people realize it's not just a Halo system, it can do more.
I mean, if we're talking about killer apps and exclusives, not even, exclusives. Gears of War, Halo, Forza Motorsport. If you remember, if you weren't a PC guy, because this new PC is a new thing to the people today. Left 4 Dead was a console exclusive. You had Prey, you had Crackdown. These were all Xbox 360 exclusives. You couldn't play this on PlayStation. So, if you were a PC gamer back in the day, you knew what Half-Life and Team Fortress was. So, we were both console gamers, and eventually they put a little thing called the Orange Box onto 360, and I think PS3 got a port as well. And that basically had Half-Life 2, the 2 expansions, Portal, and Team Fortress 2. And that really changed the game for us with being introduced to Valve. And then later we played Left 4 Dead 1 and 2. Portal, such an underrated game.
You can't even underestimate how big Portal was. At the time, they actually had the cake song from the end of the game in Rock Band. That's how big Portal was.
The cake is alive.
Yeah. You can't even... Team Fortress 2 was so much fun.
Oh my god.
I didn't really get into Half-Life, but I know you did.
I was a big Half-Life guy. I'm actually playing, it's called Black Mesa on Steam right now. That's a remake of the original Half-Life to look like modern graphics. But again, Half-Life is one of the best games, and Valve, if you're watching, please, we want Half-Life 3.
Valve doesn't do thirds, though, as we've learned.
No Left 4 Dead 3.
Then Xbox 360 had a couple great years until eventually we get to 2010 and we have the Xbox 360 S console.
Yep.
And what makes the Xbox 360 S console was a big shift in Xbox 360's business design, and I think we're talking about a little thing called Kinect. How do you feel about Kinect?
You are the controller.
Yeah.
That was the slogan. I didn't like it. I didn't use it. I hated it. I thought it was a waste. No, the 360 to me was a hardcore gamer's console, and no hardcore gamer is going to be playing with a Kinect.
No,
They want to sit there on the couch with their controller and bag of cheese doodles with their Mountain Dew, and they don't want to be jumping around the living room in front of the camera.
Unfortunately, they saw the dollar signs because of the Nintendo Wii, which made very great use of motion controls, but they didn't understand specifically what they were gearing towards. The Wii and Nintendo in general is a much more family-friendly console, whereas we felt like the 360 was more, as Matt said, a hardcore gaming console, and unfortunately, we were both very disappointed with Microsoft's decision to go the Kinect route. And obviously, it took a few years, it took Phil Spencer to really turn around Microsoft, but this was really the start of when they, unfortunately, nosedive, but, you know, they would eventually pick it up, and I think that Xbox is back now.
So in closing, again, as you can see by my collection here, I love the 360, and he laughed at me when I came over with a pile of games, because I said I just picked a few games that really meant a lot to me on the 360. He said, you picked 20 games. I said, well, I have 500 something games on the 360. This is what I came up with. But I love the 360. It means so much to me. It was by far the best console in my opinion.
For me, as much as you love the 360, I loved it just as much as Matt. And unfortunately, after the 360, I actually did take a break from video games. And until the Series X, I really feel like I'm back on track with playing games. But for me, for about 4 years, from 2006 to 2010, my life was the Xbox 360. This is something that will be a part of me until the day I die. I love Xbox 360. I still think it is the greatest console ever made. Nothing will ever live up to it just based on the fact of the age I was at the time, how gaming was at the time. You just can't recreate it. So for our younger viewers, if you have not ever experienced an Xbox 360, you can play a lot of these games, obviously backwards compatible on the Series X, or just download them. But I would recommend actually going and trying to find a 360 console. I know Matt does, because Matt has about 4 of them. So if you could, that is the best way to experience what we experienced. And if you did experience it, we want to hear your thoughts on the Xbox 360. If you loved it, what you didn't like about it, did the red ring end up hurting you and turn you off it? We want to hear all your thoughts. We want to chat with you about it. So that's it for us here today, and make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Tell all your friends, and thanks for being with us here on Let's Talk.